Hey guys, it's MJ, and today we're going to touch upon that painful energy that comes with the Three of Swords. And hopefully most of us here have healed from these moments. I think we have all experienced that feeling that comes from allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and then realizing that we put that vulnerability in the wrong hands and we find someone has betrayed us, whether it's they cheated or they used that vulnerability against us. And that Three of Swords energy is one that, we gain so much from it. This is where we build our scar tissue. So let's talk about the Three of Swords, and I'm going to show you how it relates between the Rider-Waite, the Crow Tarot, the Wise Dog, and the Grimalkin Tarot, because there are some slight differences. The most similar as far as imagery goes, of course, is the Crow Tarot. And I remember a long time ago watching somebody do a review of my deck, and they said, well, they were kind of disappointed that I kept the basic imagery between the Rider-Waite and the Crow Tarot so similar in this card. And at this time when I was making this Crow Tarot deck, I wasn't really making it for anyone else. I was making it for myself as a way for myself to learn tarot. And so in my head, of course, when I made this card, I wanted it to be as close to the imagery with my spin on it. So with my story on it here. So when you look at the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you can see it's very stark. It's just a very basic image. The heart is just a simple image of a heart with the three swords cutting through it. You can see there's gray clouds, there's rain. So you can tell right away when you just hold this card, you can feel there's a sense of sorrow. There's a sense of almost feeling lonely and detached, right? You don't feel that warm, radiant light that comes from the sun. You're feeling almost a heaviness that comes from having a heart with three solid swords in it. So this imagery immediately should give you this idea of a time when things may not be so good, right? I mean, it's a negative energy for sure. The vibration of this card is very low. So with the Crow Tarot, my thought on this card, and I used an anatomical heart. You'll notice that in all of my decks, I use anatomical hearts. I'm not a big fan of the that Hallmark type heart, the symbol of the heart. I use it, I think, once, and it's in the Empress card on the Crow Tarot deck. Anyway, that's just an off subject. So getting back to this Three of Swords, I wanted to still capture that feeling of heaviness and that just, the pain that comes and watching somebody leave you, or it could be you're the one who's leaving and you're not even looking back. It's like this energy here is one of separation, of perhaps, whether you're on the receiving end or the giving end of hurt, neither one feels good, right? Even if you're in a horrible relationship and your partner's just not the right fit for you, and you decide, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to leave, either way, you don't feel good. I mean, you may feel good about your decision. It may end up leading to better things, but at that moment, when you make that decision, it's not like you're doing it gleefully, right? I mean, hopefully not. Most of us take things such as leaving a partner of a long time very seriously. So with the Three of Swords here, with the Crow Tarot deck, again, it's very reminiscent of the imagery and the feeling of the Rider-Waite. There's a heaviness. There's that pain that comes from having a heart punctured. The general message for this card, is one of healing, though. It's feeling that initial, the three, if you think about the Three Swords this way, the first sword, and I'm by the way, I'm taking this from Dr. Clarissa Estes Pincola. The first sword, I believe, I know I learned it from someone, and I'm going to attribute it to her because I believe that is where I picked this up. The first sword, and if I'm wrong, oh my God, somebody please let me know. The first sword comes in, and it is the initial act. It is that initial disruption in your day. It's that initial feeling that comes from realizing that your vulnerability was used against you. The second sword here is that feeling of acceptance that comes, and knowing that there's nothing you can do to change it, and recognizing the person and gaining that wisdom that comes from the experience. The third sword is that time where you allow healing and the process of healing to take place, and you become stronger as a result of this experience. This does not mean that you no longer allow yourself to be vulnerable. Oh no, in fact, it makes you even more resilient, so that the next time that you do lay your cards on the table, so to speak, and you find that somebody betrays you, you have this history of understanding the feeling, so you're less likely to just be crushed by it. You know what I mean? So that's the Crow Tarot deck. For the Wise Dog deck, I took a different approach with this. With dogs, my thought was, and with people, and with anything we cherish, it's time that betrays us. It's not other people. It's that letting go. It's having to say goodbye because the time has come. And it's not necessarily about a betrayal at the hands of someone else. It's that betrayal of doing all you can to save a pet's life and still losing them to cancer, you know, or losing them to being hit by a car or something where it's completely out of your control. And for me, that's that energy that the Wise Dog brings. It's that having to accept a finality, having to accept that something ended, and then feeling that pocket of pain and hurt that's left, as you know, when you have this emptiness that's inside. And so that's what we have going on here with the Wise Dog. And you can see here this woman, and very rarely do I ever put people in my cards. I can tell you, I think there are 3 total, and it is in, it's the Wise Dog, it's the 3 of Swords, it's a 10 of Swords. I had to with that one, and I'll explain that one when we get to that card. And the Death card for the Grimalkin deck, and I'll explain why I used her as well in the Grimalkin deck. But in this card, there's this woman, and you can see that she has this connection, and they're connected, their hearts are connected, just like you would be connected with any animal or pet or friend. And you can see with time, the cord is beginning to fray, it's thinning out because they're being pulled apart, you know. And that's my vision for this, is that this dog, beautiful puppy here, the time that was spent is, oh, it's like it weighs on your back, because you know it's always there, it's ticking away, and eventually it's going to pull you apart. And so that was the energy with the 3 of Swords for the Wise Dog. For the cat deck, I took a bit of a different approach. The cats, I thought, are a lot more indignant. They're, you know, cats are resilient. They have 9 lives. And my thought with this with this one was, and with this imagery here, it may look somewhat similar or familiar to you if you're a fan of Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo is my spirit guide. She is, it makes me cry just thinking about it. She's been with me for as long as I can remember. I have loved her for as long as I can remember. And this was a take on her portrait of Frida as the hurt deer, or wounded deer rather. And anyway, there's this face. If you look at the cat's face is just staring the pain in, like it's showing no emotion. There's resilience, there's strength in this cat's face. And yes, it's been wounded. And you can see here that this cat up in the trees was trying to stay hidden in the clouds, but she knows who it was who betrayed her. And although these wounds here are very open, it's very raw, the blood is coming down and it's feeding a lotus, which is divine, which is spirit. And she's gaining strength and she's becoming a whole person because of this experience. She's understanding who she is, not just as a human being, but as a spiritual being. And you can see I have her front paws here in a little bit of water, and that's her intuition. That's her intuition telling her who it was that betrayed her, and not allowing that person to have the satisfaction of seeing her wounded, right? She's so strong. She's so powerful that yes, you can do this to me, but I'm not going to give you that satisfaction of knowing how painful it was. If anything, I'm going to redirect that energy and feed my spirit. And so that's what she has going on here with this this Grimalkin deck here. This cat is just so resilient. And I mean, I think we can all appreciate this energy, right? You know, have you ever been in a relationship and you find out that your partner's cheating on you, or that they said something about you behind your back? Maybe you're in a new relationship and it was very hurtful, but you don't want to give them that satisfaction of knowing that it hurt you. Instead, you just file it in your database and you recognize that person. It's like you almost get this clarity. You see the person for who they are, right? You understand who they are right down to the core. And that's what we have going on here with this Siamese cat up here in the tree. She knows who this cat is, not just on the surface, but who they are down deep in their spirit. And so she, with this act of betrayal, yes, she felt the pain. She gained her wisdom, and that wisdom is knowing how and who this person is, really who they are. And then the healing comes from feeding the spirit. So this is the Three of Swords. I know it's a horrible card. We see it when it comes up in a reading. Oh my God. You know, when I do a reading for a person and they see the Three of Swords, what happens is just, I can hear that, oh, you know, like that's that sound like, oh, what's going on? This doesn't mean that your partner is cheating on you. It doesn't mean that you know, that you have somebody who is playing on your vulnerability. What it means is you need to look out for areas in your life where at this time you can explore this energy. Where is it coming from? There's no certainty, but I do have to say, I'm gonna say this, when I had a reading with a friend and this card came up, it was she called me later on that night and she found out something that was very difficult for her to acknowledge that was going on in her relationship. So, you know, it can open your eyes, if nothing else. So use this card wisely. And when it does appear, take the time to think about, tap into your intuition. Is there something going on that you may be in denial about? Is there part of your relationship that could use some mending before it does break apart? There's always time to heal wounds. There's always time to come together. All this card does is show areas that are vulnerable to breaking apart, where you're vulnerable to losing a relationship, or perhaps it may open your eyes to a relationship that you are not best suited for and that is holding you back. So anyway, we're going to leave Friday with the Three of Swords, and I hope I gave a better understanding for how each of these decks approach this energy, this heavy weighted energy of the Three of Swords. And it's about healing. At the end of the day, whatever experience you have, there's an opportunity for healing, and with that healing there is growth. So you've got to open yourself up to that. You know, if you want to stay closed off, when you tighten yourself in and you hold yourself down, you can't grow, you can't flourish. So regardless of what card you get in the tarot deck, it's always an opportunity for growth. So much love, peace, bye, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.